Hey there, folks. I'm Kaiser Neko, and welcome back to the episode breakdown. This is episode 44, and you guys, I'm really excited about this one. This episode's got a lot going on in it. The opening bit alone could fill a video. It's also one of my favorite episodes of the series, and my favorite of the season so far. Alright, now here's the timeline. Funny enough, this one's actually not that sizable, all things considered. But that's partially because I've learned, thanks to many of my viewers informing me, of how to use nested sequences. Essentially, for scenes that require a ton of sound and visual effects, I create a new sequence so I may work completely unfettered by the surrounding material. Then I can bring it over to the main sequence and slide it into place. This is also very effective for scenes where I want to add an effect to the entirety of the sequence without having to apply it individually to each part. Let's of course start off with the first scene. There's a lot going on here, some of which may seem obvious and some of which might be a bit more subtle. First, the sign in the background. Of course, I created these signs in Photoshop. They're rather plain, but I wanted to capture the mundane nature of road signs. But the big effort was getting Cell to walk in front of it and turn his head. This required the Rotobrush tool in After Effects. As you see, the Rotobrush tool selects either the object in question or the surrounding objects, then erases them from the shot. There's a lot of fine-tuning that goes into this, but it can be very effective to save a whole lot of time when trying to mask objects over another shot. I tend to still use Photoshop for static images though. This shot here with the panda sanctuary keeps the original panda from the scene, but replaces the rest of it with a logo created by Mark Swint, the engineer. And now, one of the bigger visual edits of the episode, Cell's head turning. You see, I originally had him turning all the way around in this shot, as such, but I realized quickly that in the shot with the coach, Coach Roger in our script, he's facing away. So in this shot, I pasted his head looking over his shoulder, which only solved half the problem as Cell still turns around in this shot. As such, I took a little extra time and turned his head instead. It's not a perfect turn, and I almost went back to fix it, but I actually felt like the little bit of jitter made Cell's head turn look freakier and more jarring, thus funnier. Also, fun fact, that's actually Takato 101 as the East City Westman's Captain Bucko. Captain Bucko and Coach Rogers. If you get the reference, good for you. Part of the joke here is actually that in the original scene in the dub, Damian Clark, voice of Cell, played them both. Also, this dude over here is the subject of a simple mosaic. If we remove the mosaic, my video gets pulled for obscene content. Lastly for this scene, the music in the background is a cover of Jeepers Creepers by the Pupini Sisters. Why? It's actually an obscure reference to the movie Jeepers Creepers 2. Also, it keeps in line with a running theme we're building with Cell and Oldies music. Now, post-intro, we have the scene with Piccolo here. Editing the lip flaps for this scene was especially tough because of the moving debris and the flashing lights. I had to actually cut out certain flaps and rework them in Photoshop to work, as the looping frames did not give me the required combinations to do otherwise. Also, there seems to be a bit of confusion over Vegeta's line here.
Do I hear 5?
Some people believing he's referring to the total amount of androids. It's actually a callback to an earlier joke from Vegeta here.
Wait, what? So I'm pretty sure that's 3 androids you've missed. Do I hear 4?
This next scene actually almost didn't happen. See, in what will be released later as a deleted scene, there was originally an entirely different take on this segment. It was originally very close to the original scene, and honestly, added very little to the episode as a whole. It initially served as a cutaway and a way to remind people of Goku's condition, but halfway through the editing process, we decided it was just too much like the original, and considering it was filler to begin with, it needed to be changed. And so, we came up with Goku's dream sequence, art supplied by the incredibly talented Stefan Krosix. You can see the comparison shots here. Also, the smoke here is just a stock video smoke bomb. As for the reflection of Goku and Roshi's sunglasses, I just used a color key, pasted a couple of tinted shots of Goku sleeping under them, and used the Spherize tool. And yes, that is Chemical Bomb by the Aquabats in the background. Why? Well, there's always a song playing over Roshi's radio, and I just thought it fit. I also gave Cell some eyelids here to accentuate his frustration. Nothing all that new or impressive, but I thought I'd cover it. Now, this scene here was a lot of fun to put together, but there's one part in particular that's left a bunch of people curious. See, when Trunks points out Android 17 and 18's original names, as well as Android 16's design concept, he's actually pulling from a couple of 2014 Q&As featured in the new Dragon Ball full-color graphic novels, where Akira Toriyama himself sat down to dish some previously unknown details. Lapis and Lazuli are, according to the creator, 17 and 18's real names respectively, and Android 16 is apparently modeled after Dr. Gero's son, who was a soldier in the Red Ribbon Army but was killed by an enemy bullet. Thanks to the folks over at Kanzenshuu for their efforts in translating these Q&As. Now we're all learning, yeah! And finally, this last scene is one of my favorites in the show. We've never done something quite like it before, and it took me a while to get the right music placement, sound effect mix, and visual cues. Actually, there's a couple of big visual edits here too, as well as a very obscure reference to an older joke. One of the visual edits involves the clothes of the man's cell absorbs in this shot here. See, originally, the clothes belonged to a man completely separate from this gentleman here. However, with the way I was editing everything together, I wanted it to be apparent that the person being absorbed was him. And so, I used the roto brush on the clothes themselves, and I either pasted it over a tinted layer of the original, or tinted the actual clothes themselves. The second visual edit and reference is the restaurant scene here. The name of the restaurant was originally Sam Sam, but I wanted to make it something more unique and relevant. I changed the name to La Nuit Serrée, which, if you know your French or are familiar with Google Translate, means the tight anus or tight ass. But this is actually a reference to episode 31, where Marin asks if Krillin has made reservations at the restaurant.
Oh, and I hope you remember to make those reservations for Le Nuit Serrée at 7:30. I hear they're very uptight.
Lastly, thanks to both Rice Pirate and Chris Zito for their hard work during the radio segment. Their performances made this scene. Also, yes, I know, there are two flies in episode 43. Also, I said exhibition instead of exposition. Thank you all so much for the helpful comments pointing out my flaws. I appreciate the dedication. But seriously, yeah, I'm a dork. The flies are actually the continuation of a long-running joke of people seeing terrible things during the solar flare and, well, considering Cell's design, I thought they'd be appropriate. And that's it, folks! Thanks so much for all the support, and I really hope you all enjoyed not only this episode, but the breakdown as well. We're currently busy working on episode 45, as well as Hellsing Ultimate Abridged episode 5. And if you're still wondering about Attack on Titan Abridged, it's still on indefinite hiatus. If you want to know why, please check out the TFS news for May 20th. We cover all the details there. In the meantime, please do check out our latest TFS gaming videos. We're actually putting up a ton of new TFS plays, not just Krillin and Vegeta and Appa. Also, we're gonna have some big shirt designs coming out soon. Thanks to all of you for your support so far. Now, if you don't mind, I have a Canadian who's been staying at my house for the last month to tend to. Taka, get out of the pantry! Oh. God damn it, those sun chips are not for you!